Is it Monday already? It's kind of weird how weekends just fly by now. And I'm sorry, folks. I forgot to tell you they canceled Saturday. If I should have mentioned it, I don't remember mentioning it. And if anyone tuned in on Saturday and I wasn't here, I apologize dearly. I was sleeping in that day. Oh goodness gracious! The time just flies by. It's kind of weird. When you're young, time seems to. One day you wake up and you're 52 years old. It's like you're young, the days seem to last forever. You get older, and it's like tick, 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 tick. It's a paradox, man. It's a weird thing. But yeah, there isn't a whole lot of Doctor Who news other than I'm dying laughing because they're like, they sang Happy Birthday at the Doctor Who booth today at the SDCC, and I'm like, yeah, meanwhile, they don't have any panels about the upcoming 60th that I've been able to find out. Somebody heard anything different on that, let me know, because I couldn't find anything. And it's like the birthday isn't until November. But, they're trying to promo this show, and even though nobody showed up to help promo the show, uh, I don't know. I guess were thinking that because RTD was back in the driver's seat, that they were going to have a big thing at SDCC. And it's like, guys, they were at SDCC the one year for, Chibnall and them were. And so Moffat's been there. But I don't know if what's going on, if you just wanted, he's afraid of spoilers getting out or what it is. And uh, it's kind of a freaky deaky thing. Uh, but of course, this will be a good week because after this week, I'm on vacation for 2 weeks. Yeah, shutdown is finally upon us, even though it's coming, later than it normally would. Normally, the first 2 weeks of July, we would be off. And, they backed it up to the first 2 weeks of August. I don't know why. Production schedules, things like that. As I keep telling people, if our primitive ancestors just knew that bureaucracy, lawyers, politicians were going to come out of the genetic mix someday, they'd have stayed up in the trees and written evolution off as a bad idea. Well, I had the house to myself a lot when I was younger. Because as I got on a bit, both Ma and Dad were working. So there was kind of like a yay, but oh yeah, did you hear that idiot's going to rebrand Twitter? I'm not kidding. Is it just me or has Elon Musk sprung a brain gasket? I don't know why he wasted all that money on Twitter. If I was going to waste hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, except in my case, it wouldn't be a waste. I'd be like doing something for the homeless or, trying to make sure, maybe giving it to medical science. Help with research on various diseases and things like that. I wouldn't waste it on a social media platform. Look at all the people out there who could really use help. And what'd you do? You bought a social media platform. It's like, open up, food kitchens and, things like that in the cities. Help. Matter of fact, scholarships. You know how many scholarships he could have started for kids with the amount of money he wasted on Twitter? Ugh. I know. It's like, what are you going to call X? You know, people talk about Twitter on TV. They talk about Twitter in movies. They talk about Twitter, and now what are you going to call it? Well, I can't wait to get on X tonight. It's like, it sounds like he's about to go to a rave and get some ecstasy. You know, it doesn't work. And you'd think, this guy is, supposed to be a brilliant mastermind. But of course, then again, this guy could do anything he wanted to right now. He could, you know, dress down a nun in public at this point. Nobody would do anything because, as far as the U.S. goes, I think he's now our only ride into space. I think that's the only reason I think this guy gets away with so much. But like I said, it's all that money wasted when you could have been using it to help build the future, or help people now in the present. Hell, you could buy a country pretty much for what he wasted on Twitter. Well, the Titanic submersible was a whole different experience compared to, while you are, see, one of the things they always told you, if you listen to the documentaries, even the most experienced sub crew with the best subs out there, if something goes wrong while you're 2 or 3 miles down, you might as well be on the moon. There's nothing that can recover you. There's little they can do to, any rescue effort. I don't think there's any rescue sub that can go that deep. And like I said, it was tragic, but they should have known it was going to happen. It took them years to develop Alvin. It took the Russians years to develop the Mir submarines. And also, I guess apparently the wireless game controller thing is used even in the Navy. So I can't harp on them too much about the sub being controlled by a game controller, because apparently we do this kind of crap in most modern navies. I'm like, imagine there's a couple guys playing Xbox, somewhere or whatever that thing is, and I accidentally just launched missiles on a country. Oh, what? Oh. If I had $50 billion, like I said, who needs that much money? A good $10 or $20 million and you're set for life, depending on how old you are, what kind of decisions financially you make. Well, one of my favorite stories out there was about Rosie O'Donnell. That apparently when she discovered that she was crossing the $100 million mark, she had a big meeting, got everybody together, sat them down in a room, all the execs, accountants, and all that, and said, look, ladies and gentlemen, if you keep running things, the way we have been, these last few years, I should never have to see or hear from you again. You see what I mean? It's like even she recognized, once you get to that point, there's no point in worrying about it anymore. Come on, billions of dollars. What do people do with billions of dollars? And then they wonder why things happen behind the scenes. I came to a realization one day. I can't remember what show I had just watched, because the thought hit me. There are people out there who've murdered for, say, a few $1,000s. Let's say somebody, it's kind of like the Button story. We'll talk about that one quickly if I have time. But let's say somebody sat down. Maybe it was Button, or I read this story originally, and then Twilight Zone's done an adaptation of it. And, a guy shows up on the doorstep, and he's holding this box with a red button on top. And he brings it in the house. He sets it down and says, "You're going to leave this here for like a week. Anytime you press that button, someone you don't know will die. But we're going to give you $10,000. I think that's what the original story was. And the original ending was, it was a wife and husband, and they'd been having difficulties and all that. And then one day she presses the button. They come and collect the unit. The $10,000 is deposited, but then she gets a phone call hearing that her husband is dead. And the guy had left a phone number or something like that, because somehow she gets in contact with the mysterious stranger who gave her the button. And he says, "Really? But how well did you know your husband? Did you ever really know him?" And that's where that version of the story ends. Now, the Twilight Zone version was, the wife pressed the button and they showed up at the end, and the husband and wife are standing there, and she asked the question, "Did somebody somewhere die?" And he goes, "Yes, and the money's been deposited in your accounts. But rest assured, we're going to give this button unit to somebody else, somebody you don't know." So it's kind of like that, if somebody sat down in a room with the right people who are in the right situation and said, "I'll give you so many dollars," would they do it? And now you think there are people out there in the world who are worth millions times that, sitting on hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. What do you think these people do with their time? And it's scary too, because I used to have that line in Knight Rider about people who operate above the law. And it's true. There are people out there who operate above the law. Frightening, isn't it? Okay, hang on, let me get caught up real quick before we go. I might finally time flight today. Okay, time flight that's on you. To me, it was kind of a disappointing episode. It's still a fun episode to watch. Like I said, even some of the worst episodes out there, except for maybe Sleep No More. Okay, I still have a bit of a time getting through Time Lash. But yeah, Orphan 55 would have been a better story if it hadn't been for the woman shouting that guy his name every few seconds. Thankfully, it's erased from my mind. I don't remember what it is, thank God. Like I said, it's not horrible. Yeah, Time Flight's not horrible. It just wasn't one of my favorites. Oh, great. Now you reminded me. Thanks, Mark. And I'm going to have that in my voice in my head the rest of the day. Plus, like I said, they still can't explain to me why Benny is walking around with an oxygen cylinder when they had these little things that go on your nose that supposedly provide all the oxygen you need. And I'm like, well, why was Benny walking around with an oxygen cylinder then? But okay, yeah, if it wasn't for Benny, I think I wouldn't mind Orphan 55 that much. Okay, folks, well, it's a minute past the time I normally go in. So everybody, please take care of yourselves and each other out there. Be kind, be calm, be safe. We'll catch you all on the flip side. And like I said, I'll let you know what's going on after this week, because like I said, I'll be off after this week. We're going to be on shutdown for 2 weeks, so we'll have to see what brews during that time.